Part 2, Basic Techniques in Analyzing Worry. Chapter 4, How to Analyze and Solve Worry Problems. Will the magic formula of Willie's Edge Carrier solve all worry problems? No, of course not. Then what is the answer? The answer is that we must equip ourselves to deal with different kinds of worries by learning the three basic steps of problem analysis. The three steps are: first, get the facts; second, analyze the facts; third, arrive at a decision and then act on that decision. Let's take the first rule: get the facts. Why is it so important to get the facts? Because unless we have the facts, we can't possibly attempt to solve our problem intelligently. Without the facts, all we can do is stew around the confusion. My idea? No, that was the idea of the late Herbert E. Hawks, Dean of Columbia College, Columbia University, for 22 years. He had helped 200,000 students solve their worry problems, and he told me that confusion is the thief cause of worry. He put it this way: half the worry is the world is caused by people trying to make decisions before they have sufficient knowledge on which to base a decision. For example, he said, if I have a problem which has to be faced at 3 p.m. next Tuesday, I refused even to try to make a decision about it until next Tuesday arrives. In the meantime, I concentrate on getting all the facts and bear on the problem. I don't agonize over my problem. I don't lose my sleep. I simply concentrate on getting the facts. And then the time Tuesday rolls around, if I have got all the facts, the problem usually solves itself. I asked Dean Hawks if this meant that he had licked worry entirely. Yes, he said. I think I can honestly say that my life is now almost totally devoid of worry. I have found, he went on, that if a man will devote his time to securing facts in an impartial, objective way, his worries usually evaporate in the light of knowledge. Let me repeat that. If a man will devote his time to securing facts in an impartial, objective way, his worries will usually evaporate in the light of knowledge. But what do most of us do if we bother to look at facts at all? Thomas Edison said in all seriousness, there is no expedient to which a man will not resort to avoid the labor of thinking. If we bother with facts at all, we hunt like bird dogs after the fact that plaster up what we already think and ignore all the others. We want only the facts that justify our acts, the facts that fit in conveniently with our wishful thinking and justify our preconscious prejudices. As Andre Maurius put it, everything that is in agreement with our personal desires seems true. Everything that isn't puts us into a rage. No wonder we find it so hard to get at the answer to our problems. Wouldn't we have the same trouble trying to solve a second grade arithmetic problem if we went ahead on the assumption that 2 plus 2 equals to 5? Yet, there are a lot of people in this world who make life as a hell for themselves and others by insisting that 2 plus 2 equals to 5 or maybe 500. What can we do about it? We have to keep our emotions out of our thinkings. As Dean Hawks put it, we must secure the facts in an impartial, objective manner. That is not an easy task when we worried. When we are worried, our emotions are riding high. But here are two ideas that I have found helpful when trying to step aside from my problems in order to see the faces in a clear, objective manner. First, when trying to get the facts, I pretend that I am collecting this information not for myself but for some other person. This helps me to make a cold, impartial view of the evidences. This helps me eliminate my emotions. Second, while trying to collect the facts about the problem that is worrying me, I sometimes pretend that I am a lawyer preparing to argue the other side of the issue. In other words, I try to get all the facts against myself, all the facts that are damaging to my wishes, all the facts I don't like to face. Then I write down both my side of the case and other side of the case. Eventually, I find that the truth lies somewhere in between these two extremities. Here is the point I'm trying to make. Neither you nor I, not Einstein nor Supreme Court of the United States, and brilliant enough to reach an intelligent decision on any problem without first getting the facts. Thomas Edison knew that. At the time of his death, he had 2,500 notebooks filled with facts about the problem he was facing. So, the first rule for solving a problem is get the facts. Let's do what Dean Hawkes did. Let's not even attempt to solve our problem without first collecting all the facts in an impartial manner. However, getting all the facts in the world wouldn't do us any good until we analyzed them and interpreted them. I have found from costly experience that it is much easier to analyze the facts after writing down them. In fact, merely writing the facts on a piece of paper and starting our problem clearly goes a long way towards helping us to reach a sensible decision. As Charles Kettering says, a problem stated is a problem half solved. Let me show you all this as it works out in practice. Since the Chinese say one picture is worth 10,000 words, suppose I show you a picture of how one man put exactly what we are talking about into concrete action. Let's take the case of Galen Litchfield, a man I have known for several years, one of the most successful American businessmen in the Far East. Mr. Litchfield was in China in 1942 when the Japanese invaded Shanghai, and here is his history as he told to me. Shortly after the Japs took Pearl Harbor, Galen Litchfield began. They came swarming into Shanghai. I was the manager of the Asia Life Insurance Company in Shanghai. They sent us an army liquidator. He was really an admiral and gave me orders to assist his man in liquidating our assets. I didn't have any choice in the matter. I could cooperate or else, and the or else was certain death. I went through motions of doing what I was told because I had no alternatives. But there was one block of securities worth $750,000 which I let off the list. I gave to the admiral. I left the block of securities off the list because they belonged to our Hong Kong organization and had nothing to do with the Shanghai assets. All the same, I feared I might be in hot water in the Japs found out what I had done, and soon they found out I wasn't in the office when the discovery was made, but my head accountant was there. He told me that the Jap admiral flew into a rage and stamped and swore and called me a thief and a tit. I had defied the Japanese army. I knew what they mean. I wouldn't be thrown into a breach house. The breach house, the torture chamber of the Japanese gas. I had personal friend who chose to kill themselves rather than to be taken to that prison. I also had other friends who had died in that place after 10 days of questioning and torture. Now I was slayed for the bridge house myself. What did I do? I heard the news on Sunday afternoon. I suppose I should have been terrified, and I would have been terrified if I hadn't had a definite technique for solving my problem. For years, whenever I was worried, I had always gone to my typewriter and written down two questions and the answer to these questions. First, what am I worrying about? Second, what can I do about it? I used to try to answer those questions without writing them down, but I stopped that years ago. I found that writing down both the questions and the answers clarifies my thinking. So that Sunday afternoon, I went directly to my room at the Shanghai YMCA and got out my typewriter. I wrote, first, what am I worrying about? I'm afraid I will be thrown into a bridge house tomorrow morning. Then I typed out the second question. Second, what can I do about it? I spent hours thinking out and writing down the four courses of action I could take and what are the probable consequences of each action will be. A. I can try to explain to the Japanese admiral, but he does not speak English. If I try to explain to him through an interpreter, I may stir him up again. That might mean death, for he is cruel, will rather dump me in the bridge house than bother talking about it. B. I can try to escape. Impossible. They keep track of me all the time. I have to check in and out of my room at the YMCA. If I try to escape, I will probably be captured and shot. See, I can stay here in my room and not go near the office again. If I do, the Japanese admiral will be suspicious, will probably send soldiers to get me and throw me into the bridge house without giving me a chance to say a word. D. I can go down to the office as usual on Monday morning. If I do, there is a chance that the Japanese admiral may be so busy that he will not think of what I did. Even if he does think of it, he may have cooled off and may not bother me. If this happens, I am all right. Even if he does bother me, I will still have a chance to try to explain to him. So going down to the office as usual on Monday morning and acting as if nothing had gone wrong gives me two chances to escape the bridge house. As soon as I thought it all out and decided to accept the fourth plan to go down to the office as usual on Monday morning, I felt immensely relieved. When I entered the office the next morning, the Japanese admiral sat there with a cigarette dangling from his mouth. He glared at me, as he always did, and said nothing. 6 weeks later, he went back to Tokyo and my worries ended. As I have already said, I probably saved my life by sitting down that Sunday afternoon and writing out all the various steps I could take and then writing down the probable consequence of each step and calmly coming to a decision. If I hadn't done that, I might have found it and hesitated and done the wrong things on the spur of the moment. If I hadn't thought of out my problem and come to decision, I would have been frantic with worry all Sunday afternoon. I wouldn't have slept that night. I would have gone down to the office Monday morning with a harassed and worried look, and that alone might have aroused the suspicion of the Japanese admiral and spurred him to act. Experience has proved to me the enormous value of arriving at a decision. It is the failure to arrive at a fixed purpose, in inability to stop going round and round in maddened circles that drives men to nervous breakdowns and leaving hills. I find that 50% of my worries vanished once I arrived at a clear, definite decision, and another 40% usually vanish once I start to carry out that decision. So I banished about 90% of my worries by taking these four steps. First, writing down precisely what am I worrying about. Second, writing down what I do about it. Third, deciding what to do. Fourth, starting immediately to carry out the decision. Galen Litchfield is now the Far Eastern Director of Star, Park and Freeman Inc. in John Street, New York, representing large insurance and financial interests. In fact, as I said before, Galen Litchfield today is one of the most important American businessmen in Asia. He confessed to me that he owes a large part of his success to this method of analyzing worry and meeting it head on. Why is this method so superb? Because it is efficient, concrete, and goes directly to the heart of the problem. On top of that, it is climaxed by the third and indispensable rule: do something about it. Unless we carry out our action, all our fact finding and analyzing in wish list is upwind. It's sheer waste of energy. William James said, when once a decision is reached and execution is the old order of the day, dismiss absolutely all responsibilities and care about the outcome. In this case, William James undoubtedly used the word care as a synonym for anxiety. He meant once you have made a careful decision based on facts, go into action. Don't stop to consider. Don't hesitate, worry, and retrace your steps. Don't lose yourself in self doubting, which beget other doubts. Don't keep looking back over your shoulders. I once asked Wade Phillips, one of Alchemist's most prominent oilmen, how he carried out decision. He replied, I find that to keep thinking about a problem beyond a certain point is bound to create confusion and worry. There come a time when any more investigations and thinking are harmful. There comes a time when we must decide and act and never look back. Why don't you employ Galen Litchfield technique to one of your worries right now? First, what am I worrying about? Second, what can I do about it? Third, Here is what I am going to do about it. Fourth, when I am going to start